Attention! All things shared in this video are simply the opinions of the Unexplained Files. The following footage is not tampered with, and all of the events and reactions are unplanned and genuine.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Unexplained Files, the greatest channel on YouTube for all things unexplained. Tonight we are back at you with another podcast where most of the time we just talk about what we think about things and our opinions on stuff and random things like that. But this time I want to make it a little bit different, because today I want to talk about, rather than what we just think about the paranormal, how investigating and spending our time invested in the world of the paranormal, a lot more than we used to be anyway, or for me anyway, how that's changed our view on the paranormal and how that might have changed certain topics we think about and how we look at the paranormal. Because for me, growing up, my own experience would have been the things I've talked about on the channel before, and like just watching shows. So obviously as a kid and younger, the way you feel about the paranormal is a lot more, you're just terrified of ghosts and things like that, and that's pretty much it. But as we've grown up and now since going out investigating, I'm sure there are some things we probably feel differently about. So that's what I think we should jump into. What's the craziest? I know we often have that joke where we say nothing happens on the channel and nothing goes on. But to be fair, we do have, given what you're going out and doing, I think we do have a fair amount of interaction every now and then. You know, you get cat balls and you get little things like that. And I know the Spirit Talk is in a bit of its own league when it comes to paranormal stuff, because you don't know how much you can accept it as evidence, but then when you follow that logic, can you really trust a cat ball or a K2 meter and things like that? It's just hard to know. But I've been thinking about it a lot. I was at work today and I was thinking about how obviously we've got Reese who's helping out. He's our new cameraman and editor and sort of been jumping onto the channel in that way. And I was thinking back to, like, these are his first few investigations he's done with us now. And when I think back to what it was like when we started and how everything happening was exciting. If a Spirit Talker went off, that was exciting. If a cat ball went off, that was exciting. And now I'm just like, cat ball's going, oh, all right, cool. And I feel so differently about it now. But I remember those early investigations and what they were like and how it's changed how I view about it. I think the first big moment for me where I was like, oh shit, we're here and this is happening, was Chapelwood, the first time we investigated there. Well, I say the first time, it's the only time we've managed to get a video up of it, except for getting shot in the eyes by lasers. That first time we went there, and the K2 was going off the whole time we were going round, and then when we stopped in the little chapel part of it, and you asked for the wife of the person whose headstone was there, and the K2 meter just flicks up all the way to red. That's crazy.
Because I can't think what would do that there. Because there's not, like, I know it said further back because there was like solar panels in the field next door, and it said about like wiring or cabling or something.
And that would make sense along the pathway where the field was.
But where we were,
no, you weren't. You were not only were we not by that field, we were about 2 or 3 fields back anyway by that point as well, way into a valley. So there's definitely no interference in that regard, and just such convenient timing.
And then the instant you
said, if you're here, could you step back or something to that effect, then it goes off immediately.
Went straight off.
Yeah.
You have to put a clip of that in there. So
I definitely will. And I think that was probably about the time, it was a little bit before that or a little bit after, where on the audio when I was editing, and if you watch the video, you could hear like a growl or a sort of groan or something that we couldn't hear when we were there. That was just a weird, like,
imagine we heard it at the time and be like,
I don't know what I would have done. I think I'm glad, in a way I like the fact that I didn't hear it at the time, because it's a new area of like evidence to find, non-auditory but caught on like sound. How on earth has that captured, and what frequency range was it in, and why couldn't we hear it, and what could it have been? At first I thought maybe if one of us had sat down or anything, that maybe it had done it, but even then we don't sound anything like that. And we've in fact probably got clips where we've either sat down on something or stood up from something, and the mics would have picked up what we sound like, like sitting up or sitting down. It's not like that.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what was going on at the time. If we were just standing there, like when it was with the K2 and that.
This was probably one of the moments where we were in that little end chapel bit, like where it went off, where the K2 went off, but it wasn't the exact same moment. It was either before or after. Yeah. And I stood up that whole time, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it may have been when me and you sat next to each other on the wall with their headstone in front of us. I think it happened there.
Right.
At which point we were already sat down and didn't like stand up or anything like that. So there was no, it wasn't us two.
When you hear it anyway, it don't even sound like us. It's just like.
Yeah, exactly. And I was sort of thinking, could it have been like something scraping something? It sounds like air just being like groaned out. I can't think of anything else that could have caused that.
Like an old man. You can imagine, like maybe because that guy's name was Arthur, I think, wasn't it? Because I asked if Arthur or his wife's here, and maybe he's sat there like
just sat with us
his
for a minute,
or like looking at the stone and like.
Yeah. Maybe he was groaning to get up so he could kick the K2 off, who knows. But then every other time we've gone since that point, it's just not gone, it's not worked for us. Like camera equipment just not working, footage just deleted, not even deleted, like gone, because sometimes when you delete footage, you can recover things. There are files left over that you can use to recover it. There was nothing, as if we hadn't have even recorded it in the first place. And that was weird because I remember multiple times seeing the thing recording and it just was gone. And then other times we got rained out, and then the most recent time we go there's a missing person there and we're getting lasers fucking darted across our eyes. Yeah, an extra person. We're going more back up now. So, but that's the most not the most shocking one, but probably the one that's had the most like lasting impact on my experiences with the paranormal. The most shocking is probably the Lenwood Centre bang, because that was so startling in the moment. And
it was scary most because we were trapped in that room. There's only that one way out.
We were trapped in that building at that point.
And the way out was where the noise
come from. Yeah.
Initially, I thought someone was there. That was my initial thoughts, but then when we didn't hear anyone running off or anything, it was like, oh god. Yeah,
the fear was like different. It's a different kind of fear, thinking somebody's there versus is it a ghost?
Oh, yeah.
It's like someone being there, you can get really harmed, like physically and all that. But if it's a ghost, it's more spooky in an existential crisis kind of way. Like
psychological.
Exactly. What does this mean? And it makes you question everything. And that was my first moment of like, oh, well, shit, I wanted to put myself in these situations and now I've done it and now we're here and things are happening.
I do want some proper, like, mad stuff to kick off, though, like something getting knocked over right near us or...
I want the two things now that I feel I have left to experience that I want to is either to see something in front of me get, like, slid or pushed or something from still to moving, or to like hear someone speak or say something, because I'm pretty sure for me in Appledore Graveyard I'm convinced that I saw those two figures stood there. We've been back there enough times since for me to look up there in the same conditions to see the same thing and not. So that I'm surprised I wasn't more shaken by seeing it, but it was almost just like was there that didn't feel scary at the time, and it was kind of like, well, I just accept this as it is.
It's a shame my eyesight's so bad because I might have been able to see as well.
Yeah, needed the laser vision lenses or something. That was a crazy one. But the strange way that didn't really change anything that I already feel like is out there. It was more just it's there now. To me, though, the things that has made the paranormal more interesting to me is moving away from your traditional view of it just being ghosts to like shadow figures and all that kind of stuff, where there's more elements of like, was this ever a human? Was this ever a person that passed on? What could it be? Because I remember when we went to the house that like was all abandoned and the brambles and all that stuff to get through it, we didn't see that there. Nothing happened there. We didn't have any experiences there. It was a bit eerie, but not like anything really noticeable. It was more just we need to get out of here because there's black mold everywhere and we don't want to die. So we left there, and then you go through the footage, and then it's definitely a shadow figure or something like. And I was thinking like maybe it could have been if you've moved the camera across, and that could have whipped something across, and maybe a bramble or something. But the way it moved wasn't consistent. If it was like a bramble bush, like that maybe an arch of one of the brambles had done it, You'd expect the shape to remain consistent, but it didn't. It like leaned out and it curved it back in as well, so quickly, quicker than we were moving.
And I was stood at the end of that bramble bush. I know there was some on to the right and that, so I don't think there would have been any in that direct path anyway.
Even if there had been, the shadow would have moved at the same speed as you did.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't. Like, it's frames. Yeah. It's maybe 2 or 3 frames worth of... The fact that I even saw it in editing is a miracle.
Yep.
I don't even know how I captured it. I was just going through and then I saw something. I was like, what was that? And then, like, flick, and then just saw it. And I was like, what the hell? That is definitely... I'm like, what's going on?
It'd have been more worrying if I'd seen it at the actual time.
Because at that time as well, one thing that we would always say is, imagine if we go there and see shadow figures, and then the camera.
I would like to see one. Like I told you, I've seen a shadow spider. It's not the same as a person. That would be a bit more scary, but
yeah. But it's just there's something about having like real, like visceral experiences there that, even though I have, technically, they haven't affected me massively. But I don't know if that's just because I'm more used to it. I don't know if it's changed my view of the paranormal per se. It's definitely, it's like you go about your life, even if you do believe in the paranormal, you go about your life and things just don't happen. So it's not really you're in your home and you're not worried something's going to jump out at you for the most part, unless you've seen a horror film or something. So life's just normal. You're going about normal life, and then you put yourself in a scenario where things are happening. There is that moment of like, shit, this does exist in the world, and I'm now in that, and it's happening. I think that's the difference for me.
Yeah. In a way, I've found doing the investigations a bit frustrating because I want something to happen.
Yeah.
It's like you always watch these videos online, and obviously they're just like compilations of the best ones. So you always like seeing people go to places and catch something, and then we go to a lot of places and hardly anything ever happens, and it's just like, oh, for God's sake,
but then,
just do something.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. You want that real bang moment, but then at the same time, you think how many people go their entire lives without experiencing anything paranormal. So even just what we've had is quite crazy.
And just our own personal paranormal experiences.
Yeah. And on top of that as well, we've not been anywhere that we know to be very, very, very haunted for the most part. Like there's the odd place, like we went to the White Hart Inn, and that's in Devon anyway. That's known to be quite a haunted place to visit. But in terms of being able to sit down and investigate a place with a really like a multitude of different evidences and like a reputation, we've never really been able to do that.
Yeah, I suppose the only one place is Bodmin Jail.
Yeah, but then the conditions of that were a little bit difficult to investigate, and if you're actually gonna really book out a place and sort of do that thing, then maybe.
And the only main thing of that was the I was hung, drawn and quartered on the spirit.
Did we have any like cat balls or anything go off? I don't remember it very well, to be honest.
I don't think we done any. Oh, we might have done in that cell that you were saying, didn't we? I don't know if
and on the stairs, didn't we? The metal stairs on the way in.
Yeah. I don't think we had any go off, did we?
No, not that I remember anyway. But that was that was a weird environment to be in as well, because you're going there with people that want it to happen. And also, another thing that makes those investigations a little bit difficult was because I think the more people you have, the more different types of levels of, what's the way to put it? People are going to be more easily persuaded by the thought of the paranormal or not. Like, when we first got in there, the thing that the tour guide was saying before we went is like, this place has a very heavy history, and you may be influenced and you might start to feel sick or upset. And to me, when I'm hearing that, for want of a better word, I'm thinking, fuck off. No, I won't. Like, wake up. Of course that's not going to fucking happen. But there was, I think there was at least one person that needed to leave because they felt like this apparent wave of depression or something hit them, or they felt that spirits were trying to manipulate them. And
I think it's probably psychological, isn't it, really?
A big part of, to me, yes. But then another part of me thinks the suggestibility of a person could affect it. And a lot of people say, oh, well, if you're suggestible, that can get to you.
I have had one experience in my life when I was just sitting around minding my own business, and then suddenly I felt there was like a negative presence there, and it was like a real sense of fear. It like did scare me, but I suppose then it depends how you react to that, because you could just freak yourself out and just go overboard, or you can just be
I think it's a bit like You know the old joke about people getting emails or scam calls from a Nigerian prince?
Yeah.
Chances are 100 million of them aren't going to be, but one could very well be. And it has happened in the past that people have interacted, and there's been a real royalty from Africa. It has happened. I think only literally once. But the fact of the matter is, like, could there be spirits out there that can affect you and cause negative things? Probably. There could be a lot more to all these things.
Yeah.
But I'm not really one to think that was going to be the case. No. But you go there with enough people, some people will be affected. And it's like when we were there was a couple there that I think someone had said that they'd been there every weekend for the last goodness knows how many years. They're going to have a different experience to what we're going to have. So that could warp it and change how it's going to be. And also, if you believe that the people who are there and their energy also affects the space.
And I suppose it was different with us and the people there. They were going there to hopefully experience something. We were as well, but we wanted to
document it as well.
Do an investigation.
That is a big part of it, and I think that's why sometimes if you're frustrated that something's not happening, that maybe that affects it, or maybe there's something to that. Because without the video element, you may not have been as frustrated because you kind of part of you is like wanting to kick off for the video. But then being in a space like that, if it could just be us investigating and nobody else, would have felt completely different doing it that way.
Oh yeah.
I think had it been like, I didn't feel scared or at any point in that feel too uncomfortable. The only point I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit, was when you went off into the one area by like the cells where people were kept before they were executed.
Yeah.
And I'd walked through the round bit into the library bit by the office building, and that was a part where I was like, shit, like I'm by myself and it's pitch black and there's a lot of history here.
That freaked me out as well because that's when all the lights had gone off, and I was just had the night vision camera facing me, and I was just like thinking, if I see something walk behind me now, I'm gonna like.
We'd had K2 go off in there as well before that point as well, which is another part of it.
That was by that table, wasn't it?
Yeah, but in that one room that you were in, and just the reputation of it, and plus we were the only people in that entire building, and you're never supposed to be able to have that. It's supposed to be you're in 3 groups, and then you exactly, one group went over, and I think as one group was coming back before the second group came in, our group went for a lunch break, and everyone went for a lunch break, and we weren't there to realise, so we kind of got a little bit lucky and got a good
our group
like 20 minutes.
And we were stuck there on our own. So
we got a good 20 minutes in that building by ourselves. That was freaky. That was a freaky moment, and I liked that. That was good. If we were in the rest of the jail, like the actual wing, the prison wing, by ourselves, that'd be quite terrifying.
I'm glad they shut everything down though, because when we first got in that bit, and they still had that fake Ouija board thing going off, and I was like, oh god, I ain't going to be like this all
the whole time. As it got later into the night, it was that way. I mean, the tours go on till like 2 a.m. as well, so it must have just been it went up to like 10, and then after that point it kicked off.
What time did it finish? Like 1 or 1:30?
Somewhere close to 2. I'm pretty sure.
It was like 1:30 it ended, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the horrible drive home.
Yeah. But then if you were in, it would be different if you were in a group of people you knew, or if it was just you investigating by yourself, which, maybe in the future we might have an opportunity to explore it again, and with our own people, or just us, if the channel can grow and we can get the sway on them, but that will be the future.
Yeah, we do need some bigger companies or whatever coming to us with actual haunted locations that we can investigate.
Be cool. I think we keep going out there doing our thing, investigating, and if opportunities come, we jump on them, and we make that happen.
And like you were saying, like hopefully we'll do another White Heart again, like next month or so. And then I'm
definitely planning to get that into order and get
if we can get access to that place we couldn't last time. That'd be good.
One thing I will say is I really like the White Heart because they were welcoming of the fact that it had a haunted history as well. Yeah. A lot of places will turn you away because you're either not big enough to put enough eyes on them, which is understandable, or they don't want the reputation associated with the building, and I get that to a degree. But the White Hart, the second we got there, the guy who checked us in was willing. He literally moved away from checking people in, just to take us around the building and show where the haunted places were. Yeah. And one of the hallways he told us about, where he said that there was apparently the spirit of a child that would go up and down it. we went to that hallway in like the fucking early hours of the morning, and the guy who checked us in's name came through on the spirit talker, so it was clearly something to that. We need more stuff like that, and if we go back again, hopefully, you know, we'll be able to experience that again. I would love to interview some of the guys who work there as well.
Also think of different equipment we can use, you know, because like I know people associate things like the K2 and cat balls and that, like there must be different frequencies or things that it can manipulate or interfere with.
I don't think we used the thermal when we were there.
Yeah.
So we might be able to perhaps do something like that.
Yeah.
You can, like, get a thermal or something.
So like if we're staying overnight and all, like we did last time, might even set a camera up in my room, like a night vision when I go to
That'd
sleep,
be cool,
and see if anything happens. Gets caught.
Because the room that we were in was right next door to the room where they apparently saw like a pale woman in the room, because they didn't. Weird, the people who were staying in that room called the check-in desk to be like, you know, I think someone's in there. Can you go deal with that? And when they went up there was no one in there, but apparently it was like a woman who was like really like black and white and pale.
Yeah, sounds quite strange.
So I didn't sleep that night because I was paranoid. Like, we were right next to that. Imagine if I wake up to someone at the foot of my bed or something. But that I'd have to go back there and try it. But we didn't have anything happen there. No, the only things that happened was, the spirit talker went off a few times and said some relevant information. There was that weird noise right towards the end of the investigation. I still don't know what that was. Beyond that, there wasn't really anything. There was quite a feeling when we were there, but it didn't. I don't think anything major went off.
No. Yeah, I don't remember anything happening. Yeah, like that little corridor bit with the spirit talker and that noise, and that was.
But I mean, I know a lot of stuff doesn't happen like that, but that's one good thing that we can touch on is like, because we're going out there and we're not putting anything on. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I wonder if people would think like, does that change our view of the paranormal because we experience nothing sometimes? Because a lot of people would say like, oh, you've gone out there to try and prove if it's not real, nothing's happened, and now you're trying to deny it and say that it's still real even though you've not experienced anything.
Well,
and I'm like,
had experiences throughout our life anyway, so I think there's something going on.
The only thing that I think has changed about the view of the paranormal for me, even having experiences or having investigations where nothing happens, is more so, I'm more intrigued as to why it's not always there. Because we've gone to the same location multiple times and it's been different each single time. Sometimes more, sometimes less, sometimes you can't get back there, sometimes different evidences come through but the same information. What fluctuates? What's changing to change the environment? Or if it's not the environment changing, is it the way that the environment interacts with us? And what about that is? And I think that I definitely view the paranormal as a lot more rare than I did before. I didn't have a good gauge of how frequent experiences would be and how likely you to actually get into an environment that is haunted and you can document it. That's changed a lot. Like now it is like once in a blue moon. You're lucky if you get there. It's right place, right time, and it's a lot rarer than you think. That's what
it is for the most part, right place, right time. And I always like, another thing is, any time something happens, people are like, oh, there's a ghost or something. But like I told you, when I used to capture them EVPs, and it just sounded like people having just a conversation, and I'm like, as if like they're outside this door, so it's kind of muffled, but you can hear there was two women and a guy talking. So I'm like, is that like paranormal, or is that like an alternate reality? Because in that same apartment, we literally sat where the camera was when we'd done recording and by the microphone. And then another one, we had a woman, as if it was like right next to you, walking in high heels on like a tile floor or something, like really loud. And another one, a baby just crying, literally as if it was sitting right next to you. It was really like proper loud. Like, it made us jump when we played it back because it was so loud. It was like right into the microphone, and I was like, "What the fuck, man? Like, what is that? Where's it coming?" I don't think ghost. I was thinking, is it picking up on a alternate reality or parallel universe, or
this kind of freaking out about where my face is. It's trying to focus on me and the focus box is moving around. Here we go, I'm getting taken over. But I think for me, I know people have said like, what if it's the echoes of things that had been before coming back? And I used to kind of give that some possibility, but the more we've experienced, the less and less I lean towards that being something.
I think that is possible as well.
That could be a part of it, but I don't think, to me, rather than like, let's say for example, you recorded something and you heard people talking in that, or the spirit talkers saying sentences like it's having a conversation, I'm less likely to believe that it's like the location has absorbed it and is radiating it back out. I more so think that maybe if there's like, I don't know, more emotional based charged things that would leak out, if anything. I don't even know if I've already think that, but that's the only thing I could give it credence to. The more thing I think would be going on is, like you said, this people in the same place, just not like a different station of the radio, just tuning the radio a bit differently. And that could be like, you know, if you pass away and now there's a different realm that you exist in, perhaps maybe that's something to do with it, a different frequency of existence, and creatures that were never people, or maybe people that crossed over and died and now they exist in this way. That's where my brain tends to lean towards just now.
When we talk about that, it just makes my mind start going, because we'll probably never know the answers to it, but you just...
By the time we've got the answer, we won't be able to let these folks know, so it's not going to be any good.
I suppose you can't really comprehend it. We're just like trying to figure it out from a human perspective, and it could be something totally...
I heard someone's argument towards religion and the paranormal once, or specifically the paranormal and ghosts, and their reason for thinking that it can't be true is that there's been no like predictions that people have been able to bring to the other side. That it was something of their belief was that, or their rebuttal to the paranormal was that, well, surely if there are ghosts about, they'd be able to, like, what was the word he used? Not interpret, but like... Oh, it's going to annoy me. I don't remember what the word was he used. It's a very specific way of phrasing it. How you can't get like information and bring it back. So like you wouldn't be able to tell the word. It's not divine. Not that's going to annoy me. It's like a word that would mean to get information from the future or whatever, or like be able to predict things and stuff like that. Intuit. That was the word I think he was using. Like he was saying, you can't intuit anything from the other side. You can't get any information back about what's happened or what's going on. Huh?
And that was his argument.
That was basically his argument, that there's been no evidence that has ever like been able to reasonably say, here's the information we can get from the other side and bring back that we can prove validates it. But to me, that would imply that time works differently and they can see the past and the future and predict this and say that this happened, stuff like that. I don't think that really
but that's just
explains
like
it.
Science and all, you know, they're like, they come up with theories, but they can't prove it. And then like some years down the line, they might actually come across and be able to prove it somehow. So it's like, I think I am more in the lane. I mean, I personally have my issues with like the idea of time and all that sort of crap. I won't get into that because that's far too complicated. But I would rather think that like whatever is out there is still happening in this moment, and rather than it being like the past happened and the future's going to happen, I think of everything as just an eternal ongoing. It's not like there's no forward, it's like just round and round and round it goes kind of deal. I think there probably is some different thing with time going on. It's like when I've listened to so many of those near-death experiences and that online, and they say when they were on the other side, they like experience like what could be like months or years of stuff, but then they were only dead like 5 minutes or something. You know?
To me, the way I think, I'm starting to think of time, and I know people will disagree, and to be honest, I don't care. Like, this is something for me to explore in my own perception of it. I think that time, as we recognise it, is just a misinterpretation of other things happening in the world that we are trying to understand from a mortal and conscious perspective. Like, some things that we use to recognise time. Distance, for one. Atrophy, for another. These are things that are happening without time, realistically. Things degrade, things denature, that happens. Like, and we're assigning time in it to comprehend
like the
point A to point B.
And all, you know, there's not a 24-hour period. It's just something that's been made up to make it seem like it's a constant thing.
The only reason today isn't tomorrow is because you're going to sleep in the middle of it. If you don't sleep in the middle of it, today and tomorrow are going to be the same fucking thing, and you'll still be knackered either way. But that's the whole nother kettle of fish. We could go down that. I spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff. But
it's the same thing when they talk about if you go into space at like the speed of light or so. If you're gone for
time's relative, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 4 hours or something. You come back, everyone you know would be dead because they've just aged.
It wouldn't be that. It's like if you were travelling at the speed of light, the way you would experience time would be different to the way that other people they would experience. They would experience it more rapidly than you would be. You'd
but
be slowing
same
down.
thing. Like you'd come back, they'd be gone, and you'd still be the same. Like you'd have aged.
I just think the way that we understand it is completely. It's our concept and our ability to perceive these things are too limited to understand the actual nature of it. And I think paranormal sits in that same way.
It's like, I was just thinking that when you said about that guy, we just don't understand it. So you can't just deny it just because you can't figure out a way of it, how it works or if it's real. Don't mean it's not real.
It's like, I can't understand Japanese. I could learn it, but I can't. Right. So my lived-in experience is that I don't understand what it means. I'm aware that people understand what it means, but because I can't, it'd be like saying, well, it doesn't mean anything. If it meant anything, why can't I know that? Why can't I recognise it? Why can't I pick up what it's trying to say? Right. Your experience doesn't necessarily mean that your truth isn't like an absolute thing. Everything is subjective rather than objective. And that's what makes these things so complicated. But to freaking not to get too distracted even more than we already have been, I definitely think that my point from this tangent was that I don't necessarily think time is a good way to justify the fact that the paranormal doesn't work, and to say that you can't get information backwards and forwards also doesn't really work. I think it's just you have to observe it, and the fact that we have investigations that we don't experience anything doesn't stop me believing in it necessarily.
No.
It more so just reminds me of how rare it actually is, and so think about how can we change how we try and get evidence? What tools can we use? What equipment can we use? And what mindset do we go into it with?
I wonder if whether it's the individual or the environment they're in, because you get some people they experience haunted in their house for all their life and that, but then some people have have had enough of it and they move, but then it continues in the new place. So that's one that boggles my mind. Is there something that can follow someone around? Is it coming from them themselves somehow?
I know throughout history, the whole the reason I point to history a lot is because, yes, we are more advanced now, we think, than we've ever been. But we have an arrogance about us that says that because we are the best we've ever been, we must be right now and can't have been right then. My thing is more, if a belief is held for 50,000 years, for example, and then all of a sudden in 100 years that's evaporated because we've got technology that says otherwise, do you get rid of that first portion because of what you now know, or do you sit and go into the ideas and find the commonalities of what used to be believed and try and apply that to what you currently know? That's where I go with it. So let's say a lot of belief in the past, there was, in almost all ancient faiths and beliefs, there's always this idea of realms that exists in Abrahamic faiths, that exists in pagan faiths, that exists everywhere, animistic faiths, all of it, all different realms of existence where these beings inhabit. So that once again goes back to the idea of maybe there is these different frequencies of existence that these creatures or people or whatever are living in, and now we can recognise that through instrumentation, and that's kind of what's going on with that. Then another thing that seems to exist a lot is the idea of the soul and the spirit, and also the connection that has to other people, maybe ancestral, familial, and things like that. All of those things makes me wonder if you're in a space and you're experiencing hauntings, or you get mediums and people like that, and then you go somewhere else, and rather than it remaining there, it follows you somewhere else. Is that because there is some familial connection going on, or some you have, for example, if you are a medium, does that mean that you just have a closer relationship with certain spirits that will give you an insight and will connect things? I don't know. Could it be something to do with that? That's where my mind goes with that one.
I always remember people talking about as well, if ghosts are real, why aren't you seeing ghosts of cavemen walking around? And how many billions of people have died over the hundreds of thousands of years and that? Where are they? Or is there some kind of thing that time has where time again.
Yeah.
Where things dissipate over a while and then just more newer stuff. I don't know.
I feel like if we keep going with this, we could just drift off in so many directions. But the one thing I will leave it at that intrigued me most recently was I saw a clip from an interview with someone, I forget who it was, but they'd asked him if he'd seen, like, if he knew anything about religion. And he said that I don't know if it was the American government or FBI, CIA, whoever, had spent and invested a shit ton of time and money investigating religion as a whole and what was behind it. And he said that he'd seen this giant stack of papers to do with it that briefly surmised was the idea that the human body is just a vessel for, he didn't say what, but a vessel, and that religious rules and religious ideas only exist so you don't damage the body, so that whatever the vessel is containing can be kept safe until it's needed. And that is where I'll leave it. And I know, I think that's referencing, because we've talked about it before. But yeah, make of that what you will, folks. And that's our rambly topics about how investigating and going out and living the paranormal, how that's changed our experience. What do you lot think? I want to know, what's your experiences with the paranormal? Have you watched our videos and has that changed your perspective? Do you have beliefs yourself, and as you've gotten older, how has that changed, and what do you think of the paranormal in general?
Yeah, because I wonder, people watching, like, obviously, as we've said before, there's channels out there that kind of hype stuff up, so it's more exciting and that. Like,
entertainment.
Are people really interested in the paranormal aspect, or are they more interested in the entertainment? Because
that's a risky bridge to cross anyway, because funnily enough, it's those type of entertainment that got me interested in the paranormal.
I like
which then I crossed the bridge myself to find the truth of it, rather than watching that.
I get it why people like it, because I like watching them and all. But I know, just from personal experience of my own paranormal experience, I know there's something there. So then it's a interesting thing
that's the most poignant
way. So.
That's the most poignant way my view of the paranormal has changed after investigating. I now watch Most Haunted or all these number of channels and think, fuck off, that's a load of bollocks. That's what's massively changed. But yeah, there we go, folks. If you would like to check out some more of our podcasts, or would like to see some of our investigations, perhaps some of the ones we referenced, I will stick an iCard in the video, or it will be throughout the video, where you can check our investigations playlist. You can see some of the clips. You can see the full video of the clip that have been posted in this video, the one we talked about earlier at Chapel Hill, our most terrifying moment, if you will, even though it wasn't really scary at the time, but either way, after the fact, it's quite cool. If you want to check out some of the other things we've done reactions to other people's paranormal content that you can take a look at, some of the best things that the internet has to offer for black-eyed children, for shadow figures, for skinwalkers, and other various things that we've taken a look at. We've got other podcasts that you can take a look at also, where we've talked about, what else have we done podcast-wise? We talked about,
remember, we've done a few now, haven't we?
There was one that we did that I was going to reference and I've completely forgotten it. Either way, we've got some interesting podcasts, so interesting that we've forgotten all of them. And yeah, you can check out some of the other things we've done. If you would like to leave us a comment telling us about your theories on the paranormal, we would love to hear it. And if you yourself are somehow involved in a paranormal building, or haunted building, or some experience that you can send our way, or would you like us to take a look at, email us on the email I'll put up on screen here. This is our email that we use for anything to do with the paranormal related. So as much as we would appreciate comments from you, emails telling us that you appreciate our content, that is not the place to do it. That is the comments. If you have any business related things, then that is the place to contact us on. With all that said, we hope you enjoyed this evening's video. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and we hope to see you again very soon. Goodbye.
And before that, we want to say thanks for getting us up to just over 700
Oh yeah, we broke 700. Woohoo!
I think it was on like 707 earlier. So,
707 as of the time of filming this, which is very cool. That completely slipped my mind.
Yeah, so,
yeah, thank you for getting us over 700 subscribers, folks, and hopefully we'll soon be at 1,000 and many more great things ahead of us.
Right.
And back to the whole goodbye.